TVC breakfast. Now, a renewed royal rivalry is stirring deep within Yoruba land as tensions between the Alaafin of Oyo and the Ooni of Ife resurface with growing intensity. What was once a subtle undercurrent of competition has now escalated into a visible struggle for dominance, raising concerns with both traditional and political circles across the region. Recently, the Alaafin criticized the Ooni's decision to confer the title of Onímọ of Oòduà on businessman Dotun Sanusi during the unveiling of an indigenous social media network together held in Ibadan. While both monarchs are referred as custodians of Yoruba history and culture, their ongoing contest for supremacy reflects deeper questions surrounding leadership, influence, and the role of tradition in an increasingly modern society. Joining us in the studio for this conversation is strategy consultant and public affairs analyst Kenny Adenugba. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Ekaro Mokinyo, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning. All right, so this has been going on social media for a long time. We see the back and forth. And sometimes we're wondering, why is this happening in the royal family? Because when we speak about the royals, we know that, you know, they do not like drama, they do not like conflict. And normally, we are not even expected to see this kind of conflict come on social media. We expect that when this happens, they will resolve it indoors for it to come out. But quickly, what do you make of the whole conflict and how it started?
Okay, let me say this. It's good to be here and to talk about this. One, the social media has come to play up a whole lot of things that before wouldn't come to the public notice. Yeah. That's one thing. I keep telling people that a number of the things that we see today, that most of the time happened before. Yeah. But the intensity and the way they now played up in the social media, particularly a lot of times because of our influencers, so to say, who are looking for clickbaits. And who also want, because they want to make money. So I see a business dimension to this from a number of social media players, because the more they bring up all of these things, the more people come to their platforms, and then they believe that they can earn more. So in a way, I think one of the challenges we have is that our people who are on the social media, particularly influencers, must also learn how to be responsible. That's one critical thing. Yes, what has happened, and it's unfortunate that we have to have this kind of situation. But it's not the first time it was going to happen. Yeah. In the days of the previous Alaafin, Obalamidi Olaiwola Adeyemi, the third, Akeosha, it happened as well between him and Ooni, Shijuade Olubushe, the second. So we've had it before. So it's not as if it's something that is new. However, we must tell ourselves, what is the basis of all of this? Yorubas will say we all adopted the nomenclature Yoruba as a people. But we must not forget where we're coming from, that we were city-states. The Jeshas, the Ijebu, the Ekiti, and what have you, they were city-states. And a number of those city-states were never under the imperialism of Oyo at any point in time. But everybody accepted and agreed that there's a source, which is Ile-Ife.
Ile-Ife, right.
So having looked at that, we must then ask ourselves questions. If everybody did not come under the imperialism of Oyo, must it then be that Oyo becomes the one that says, everybody belongs to me? No. We must understand that, yes, we've all adopted the Yoruba, the word Yoruba, or the terminology and the nomenclature Yoruba for ourselves. Right. But we must play this outright. Whatever we're talking about here, we're talking facts. And it has nothing to do with, we should please leave emotions and focus on the realities of our lives and who we are. So those are the issues right now that we must understand. Right. So that's one critical thing that we need to know.
But if you look at the Alaafin of Oyo, because it looks like deja vu of what's happened, with the royal fathers of yesterday. You talk about Obalamidi Adeyemi and that of Shijuade or Nishijuade. The Alaafin of Oyo insists that he has a sole right to confer titles over all Yoruba land, citing the Supreme Court ruling, that reportedly reaffirms his authority. So, and then this claim is actually rooted in his historical dominance in Oyo Empire, which once stretched across Dahomey. and some parts of Kogi State.
Okay.
So could you help us understand, because how strong is the Alaafin's case when it comes to the president alleging that legal backing from the Supreme Court, and that of the fact that the significance of Oyo Empire in exerting his own influence in shaping the country to the country that we have today?
Well, that's an interesting way to look at it. But I will tell you this. Sometimes we want to hold on to nothing, to straws. And at the end of the day, we must realize clearly where Oyo Empire stands in today's realities. There is nothing called Oyo Empire today. That's the reality. We must come to that terms. If we give dues and honor, we give it because of who we are. That's the truth. Because the days of Oyo Empire had long gone. In fact, after Oyo Empire, we must not forget that Ibadan and Ijaye rose as empires. And it was because Ibadan wanted to then take on some others that led to the Kiriji War with the Ekitis and what have you, the Ekiti-Kparakpa War. So in a way, we must understand that. And that's why even Ibadan people will say the Alaafin should not be doing what he's doing right now. Because we must understand the place of history is there, yes. But must we begin to backtrack into certain things that do not pay us and brings acrimony? We have more things to look at as Yorubas than all these skirmishes. No, all these kind of, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm old, I'm more superior to you, I'm not superior to you. Who needs that now? That's the question we want to ask. And how much of that would impact on the economic situation of the people, and how would that also help the political situation of the people and also bring prosperity to the people? Those are the things we need to start looking at. Our kings and our obas must begin to look at how do we engineer security? How do we look at the security architecture of Yoruba land? How do we look at the economic prosperity of Yoruba land and our people than all this whatever? To me, it's a non-issue that somebody played up. And whoever played it up is just being mischievous. I mean, and this started right from the coronation time and what have you. I was there in Oyo, by the way.
Speaking of playing up, you have clearly distinguished the difference between the Alaafin and the Ooni, you know, and the supremacy that exists between either of them. But this matter began when the Ooni gave a chieftaincy title. What I want to ask is this: is that really the subject of this wahala now? Is it only on the surface now, just that a chieftaincy title was given to somebody? Is that the real deal?
Or there is more to it than
or there is more to it than
well, I'll say this. One, the title wasn't even just given. It was over 3 years or thereabouts, as I've come to learn. It was done before. I think what just happened now was the Ooni was doing this together, platform. And he then, like I heard anyway, and I read, that he then, because I wasn't there at Ilaji Resort, he then, it was more or less of a case of let's now consummate, let's now celebrate and put a final authority on this, like a royal celebration of the title that was bestowed, even while Oba Lamidi Adeyemi was still on the throne. And Baba did not, at that time, raise any issue. Now, when you say Yoruba land, in most cases, excuse me, what if you hear the Ooni given title, in most cases, you will hear of the source of Odua. Now, Iyalaji of the source, or Iyalaji Odua. You will hear all of that. Now, for that to now come as Yoruba land, it's also another thing to look at. The question is, if you know that the Alaafin normally looks at Yoruba land as the title he wants to give, like Mayego of Yoruba land and all of those things, Are Ona Kakanfo of Yoruba land. The question then is, why they use Yoruba land in the title could have been Okonomo of Odua. But that's notwithstanding. I think where mischief wants to come in, people will always look for reasons for something. And then when you say Yoruba land, today we all take this entire southwest down to Kogi, that's Okun land, and then Kwara and what have you, parts of Kwara outside of Baruba. You then talk, they are all part of Yoruba land. However, the reality is that Oyo as a place, and Oyo, there's no empire any longer except it's in somebody's mind, which is just playing to the gallery. So if there's no empire any longer, what local standing, would somebody then have to say, I'm also, putting my power or putting my stamp on everybody that was, we are about 40% of such were never under the imperialism of Oyo. So in a way, it's like arrogating certain other things to yourself as well. So we must balance these things.
Yeah. You know, but some people will poke what you just said now, sir. You know, when you say that there's no empire any longer in Oyo. However, there's an Alaafin who is sitting over that, as it were.
Over what? Alaafin of Oyo, not Alaafin of Yoruba. We must clear this out.
So being that he's Alaafin of Oyo, does that not then give him some level of legitimacy to do whatever he can do within the ambits of his rights?
Which right? We must ask this, what right?
Hence, I ask you that question, because this matter began, if you will allow me to bring it, this matter began when a chieftaincy title was conferred on somebody. That is when we began to see the uproar. That's why I'm asking, is there something else that this chieftaincy title now brought up to the surface? Or is it only...
You're saying it was even given 3 years ago,
exactly.
not now.
The truth is this. You see, that supremacy thing will always... sometimes when people are looking for validation, I keep telling people, you don't need to look for validation. Let your status, when people... like I said, it derives from the people. The people will be the one to say, this is who you are. In most cases, the respect, the honor you deserve, people will give it to you the moment they realize the value you bring into the table. We must understand the place of that. I would say that if everybody, people can come to respect Alaafin. And like I said, I was at the coronation. And because on the invitation of the inner circle of the Alaafin himself. So, but the reality is this. Let it derive from the people. The moment you begin, I kept saying, when a man begins to say, I'm the man of the house, he has lost the plot. So, in a way, we must understand some of these things. So, it's actually an age-old rivalry that is resurfacing, which is unnecessary.
So we can see that it's not just from, the title that was given, because you said it was even 3 years ago, and now all of this is coming. So we can see that this thing is long prolonged. It's not just something of recent. But let me take you to, some comments on social media where some users are saying that whether we like it or not, Ooni is the #1 in Yoruba land. That's what people are saying on social media. And others are defending Alaafin, and they are saying that the stool of Ooni and Alaafin are too sacred for comparison. You will not be able to reach a consensus. These are the two greatest Yoruba thrones on earth. That's what people are saying on social media. But if you ask me, I'll say that when we talk about royals, like I said earlier on, as they are fighting, the ground is suffering because, a lot of people are speaking as well. Also, the Yoruba people are speaking. How can these people reach an agreement? Because this is like a disgrace to see two big people like this having this kind of fight. What are they saying to the younger ones? What can be done? How can this rift be closed?
Okay, I'll say it this way. If you notice, while Alaafin Lamidi Adeyemi III was on the throne, there was a kind of understanding and mutual respect between the Alaafin and Ooni Ojaja, the second. And because there's that understanding that, there's nothing. Baba also was already, getting tired of all these shenanigans, so to say. But now you have two younger people, and one is trying to assert. And if you notice, the Ooni on his own did not get into the boxing ring. So I keep saying one thing: if somebody is preparing and doing all these fisticuffs in the boxing ring, and you're not entering the ring with him, people will ask him, what is going on? So are you trying to fight yourself or what? So the reality here is this. The way to quell this, #1, we must understand the place of diplomacy in royalty. That's the reality. Whatever happened this time around was it's totally devoid of diplomacy that royalty is known for. And what should have happened should have been that even if the Alaafin's office or his people feel aggrieved with that situation, there are ways and there are channels to express grievances away from from such things. To now be given an ultimatum, it sounded totally undiplomatic. It sounded totally out of royalty. So it's like what commoners will do. I mean, in the parks, so if you don't do this, and then I'm going to The question is, 48 hours has gone past.
A long time ago, and nothing has happened.
What that does is this: it then takes away, it chinks away from your medals, and your and your relevance and strength. So we must be careful how we play things out. And I think Alaafin also needs to call his people, his handlers, to order in a way, because sometimes it may not even be the Baba himself. It may be his people who are overzealous in certain things, and because they feel that we have scores to settle over the years, we must prove, and there's nothing to prove here.
So it should rein in is the people that
there's nothing to prove.
But the thing there is, if you look at it historically, I love the fact that he also taking us back into history. I mean, to history, because all this happened when we started having, the whites, the West, the Portuguese coming into Africa, destroying empires, even empires also swallowing themselves. You could also remember that of the Sokoto Caliphate. You could remember the Benin Empire, the Oyo Empire, even the Monomotapa Empire, the Buganda Empire in Uganda, all of that. Now, democracy has set in. They brought democracy to us and say, yes, we have to impose it on you, whether you guys like it or not. So much so that a local government can call both of them and say, you guys, what are you fighting over? I'm your senior. When it comes to political power, I'm not even disputing spiritual power, with you both. How do you think, what exactly do you think we lost it? And exactly what do you think we should do? Because some are saying, as you insinuated, that the newly crowned Alaafin of Oyo, is trying to, catch up with the Ooni, because the Ooni has been there for 10 years. And he also needs some relevance. He also needs to make some noise for people to know that, yes, I've arrived and I'm Alaafin of Oyo, as a matter of fact, a war general. So how do you think we should approach this so that the younger generation will not stay on the social media with their with their fingers and start typing, making derogatory remarks to our royal fathers?
I think we just, like one of my big Egmo will say, I want in country.
Please, can you tell us that in English as well?
We're the ones who have the problem. We're the ones who are creating problems. And when we do that, what we do is the fact that sometimes we give people the opportunity to insult us as a people if we're not careful.
And that's actually what is happening.
Exactly. So those who should naturally not even have the temerity to look at you are now spitting on you. It's unfortunate and it's very saddening for the Yoruba race, I would say that. However, like I keep saying, if you want to be, there are ways to show relevance and to make yourself relevant, and also show that you are here. It is not by, trying to hit at someone. No.
A cheap shot.
Can the office of the Alaafin begin to look at developmental issues and begin to network in a way as to bring development not just to Oyo but its environs, down to Okiogun and even towards Ibadan. But then that begins to happen. People start looking. And then there are things within Oyo that are cultural as well. Can the Alaafin and his people begin to look at cultural upliftment of the environment as well as development? And that was one of the things that the Ooni also did when he came on board. He began to look at cultural matters. In fact, he had 2 cultural ambassadors called Ashoju. I don't want to mention their names. One of them is my good friend. But what I'm saying in essence is, he had those. Can the Alaafin also then begin to look at cultural things that will now elevate? The more you elevate the office, then the more people then also accept it. Like I said, whatever legitimacy you're talking about today, there is no legitimacy for any empire. Because now the tides have changed. There's no empire today, except it's in someone's mind. However, you can create acceptance from the people. You can get acceptance from the people. Your legitimacy can come from the people when they willingly accede to you and give you what you're worth. And what, you're worth your weight in bars of gold. They can give it to you, but it must derive from the people. You don't enforce it. The days of imperialism, where you actually get imperial sovereignty through force of power, he's long gone.
No, but I don't think he's long gone. Because if you look at what US is doing to the world now, it's still, exerting some sort of imperial power.
Under the guise which is why I said, you see, in this matter, I'm not talking
we are not talking
I'm not talking globally. And that's why I said that even America, the British was an empire that ruled half of the world, if not more. and it fell.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, America is also, let us say it for what it is.
It's an emperor.
America is an empire,
Yeah.
a global empire that is also, if care is not taken, on its way out.
Yeah. It's actually
so we must understand the place of that. But within the context of what we're talking about, there is no empire called Oyo Empire today.
Absolutely.
And don't forget, like I keep saying, most of the people, most of the other city-states that have now become towns, and the Ekitis, the Ijeshas. In Ijesha alone, you have how many towns in Ijesha? In Ekiti, you have as much as tens of towns in Ekiti. The same thing you find in Ife and its environs, Edwambo, Olode, and all those places. The same way you find in Ijebu. They were never at any point. The most that happened was that they had relationships, which was diplomatic. They were never at any point under the rulership or the imperialism of Oyo. So how do we then place those ones when today, when there's no empire, you now say that everybody must also koto, but everybody will say this is the source. Ile-Ife is ours, or Ile-Ife is our source.
Yeah.
So that is why I said that spiritual and cultural dominion is more eternal, whereas imperialism is temporal. So we must understand the place of both. So if that understanding comes, then it becomes easier for everybody. And everybody can stay and do what they need to do without anything. Where I come from, they say something that the sky is so vast that birds can fly without necessarily banging wings.
But let me just come in here and say this. We said that the Ooni was dragged into the fight. So what does that speak about the next person? And let's just keep that aside. You said social media, is the reason why we see all those things. So does it mean that this has been happening before, but right now social media is just exposing it? And also, how can we bring about more peace when we talk about our royals? Because you said social media is the one bringing it out. It's been happening before, according to you, sir.
Yeah, you see, there's no way, the moment you have, because in sociology and in social environment, the social dynamic says that the moment you relate beyond interpersonal, there'll be politics. If we're four here, right, the moment we begin to relate, I probably will become closer to him than him or to you. And the reason may be, I've known him maybe a bit longer. And the reason could also be that, she's a female, I have a soft spot for females. That could be a reason. So whichever way it comes, there'll be politics. I would gravitate towards an individual or a personality or an entity than the others. At that point, you begin to have politics. It is natural. However, like I said, the place of diplomacy comes in to help to resolve things. There are things that you don't bring to the public. Where I come from, they say that the elder must know how to keep things from within. They will say,
I love all your adages.
And then they say, which is that the elder doesn't just open the mouth to speak anyhow, even though they can look at things. And that's why another word they say is this, that from the eyes you will know the grievances of a youth. But for the elder, it's within. Which means that when a child is not happy or whatever, you can see it on his face. But for an elder, you may not know because it's keeping everything. Then they will drag themselves inside to go and discuss and resolve matters.
Mr. Adenugba, I wish we had more time. I would have wanted you to espouse on what then gives the Alaafin his own local standing, but we don't have time to continue.
We don't have time again. Thank you so much, Mr. Kenny Adenugba. Thank you so much. Esheo, you were amazing on the show. A lot has been said. Thank you so much for clarifying a lot for us. But after the break, we will explore how $238 million loan from Japan will support the expansion of the national grid and its border benefits. Stay with us. This is TVC.